An interesting part of the paradox, nationalism is potentially a healthy social phenomenon because it can activate a healthy aspect of human psychology, dedication to service of something larger than the little self. We're all going to die. I mean, 100 years from now, none of us in this room will be around. And we know that we're going to die. Mortality is an issue that we face every day of our lives. We're mortal beings. And if you can dedicate yourself to something, your life to something that's going to extend beyond you, that you believe in, that will make it a better world, then it has a positive feedback effect just because of the way human psychology has evolved, just the way our species has evolved. So, for example, in Germany, that era of militant nationalism in the 1930s, it was associated with an increase in social capital, service to the fatherland, emphasis on strength and activism, not just the enthusiasm of the young Austrian women, but countless experiences in youth groups, other organizations, led to optimism as Germany seemed to be emerging from a dark era. By the way, I'm leaving out the details of the problems that Germany faced from 1920 to 1933. They were quite challenging. It was a dark era in Germany in that era. And it seemed that they were coming out of it and things were going just great. But there's a fatal flaw in militant nationalism, whether it's wherever it is. But something larger than the little self, to which so many dedicate their lives, is in fact the pathology of perishing as fools. So here's a question. Let's learn from the paradox how to control the pathology. Why would civilian life expectancy increase 2 to 3 times faster in the World War II era than in other decades of the 20th century? See if you can think of 3 possible reasons. Now, we'll come back to this because I'm really interested in your thoughts, because a question, if this is true of your life or the course of history, if you ask the right question, it's true in science as well. Asking the right questions can change your life, can change the course of history, can lead to all kinds of important discoveries. So this is one question that we can come back to at the end. I'll give you some possible answers so people are less isolated. For example, the elderly lady wants to know news of the next door neighbor's son overseas. People feel their lives count for something important, countless ways to contribute to the war effort. Ironically, in some ways, there's less anxiety about the future. Full employment, collective spirit of, we can come through this if we work together. The integral relationship of birth, life, death, and society is brought home in countless ways. News of victory, defeat, death, birth, and so on is experienced in community. These and other reasons potentially are related to enhanced physiologic states, the enhanced desire to see the challenge to the end, and so on. So that's a paradox about this full involvement, full engagement in war. It's not just during World War II that there's this geared up war effort. Militant nationalism and preparations for war are in progress year in, year out in our culture. And actually, some observers have argued that actually the preparations for war may be even worse than the war itself. That is, a culture that is constantly preparing for war. Now remember, I'm from the United States, so I'm speaking partly as an American, but Canada is of course an ally. I am a citizen of Canada as well as the United States. So this is this is a human problem. This is our problem. That's our species that does this stuff. But there's another erosive and debilitating form of pathology in our culture. So another aspect of the pathology, consumerism, cynicism, ego worship, which from my perspective, they're dead ends in the exploration of human potential. So in fact, if you look at various spiritual traditions like the Bhagavad Gita, which depicts life as a warfare, but you have a choice of opponents. You can fight against others and for the glorification of your own ego, and that will lead down a dark road, according to the Hindu tradition, the Bhagavad Gita. On the other hand, if you fight against your ego and subdue your ego and live your life in service to others, you transcend yourself, and that is a luminous path. So this is not unique to the Hindu tradition, but the core of spiritual traditions has come to this insight. Now, I should just mention, in terms of the way the book looks at spiritual traditions, that the distinction here is not between Christianity and Islam. The distinction is between the option A Christians and the option B Christians, the option A Muslims and the option B Muslims. So at the core of, for example, Christianity is the tradition I know best. You have the Sermon on the Mount. That's option A. A few centuries later, you have the Crusades and the Spanish Inquisition. That's option B. It's all called Christianity, but the real difference is between, is it option A Christianity or is it option B Christianity? Is it option A Islam or option B Islam? At least that's the way of thinking I present in the book, and I emphasize this is a way of thinking. It has a specific purpose. I outline what the purpose is. So any way of thinking about the world is a map. It's not the territory, you understand. It's a set of abstractions, memories, with emotional feelings imposed and so on. But the way of thinking that I propose, that I present in the book, has that concept. So here we are, ego worship and so on in our culture, headed for a split. I'm not keeping up with Kendra and Hank, but Hank has exploded with jealousy as Kendra humiliates him by selling her own sex tapes with another man, what she hid from her husband. So, from my perspective, again, cover of a popular magazine, obsession with ego, narrow, self-defeating views of what life is about. So seduced by consumerism and egotism, many people, from my perspective, simply fail to realize the value of their own lives and the lives of others. So in my eyes, the individual, the person, has something inside them. Each person, each of you, has something unique inside you. If you discover it and develop it, you can bring a gift to the world that no one else can give. But if you get lost in ego worship and consumerism, then from my perspective, again, emphasizing, you're failing to realize the value of your own life. So there are far, far better options for our lives and our communities. Many examples of well-documented roadmaps to healthier local communities and a healthier global community. On the left, Richard Wilkinson, his data I presented from the different decades of the 20th century in England. His most recent book with Kate Pickett, The Spirit Level, Why Greater Equality Makes Societies Stronger. This is no joke. Okay, that the index of increased life expectancy during World War II, the British government was quite intentionally trying to get full employment, get people to think of this as a society, we're all in this together. That was a conscious effort, and it led to a much healthier society, ironically, during World War II. Muhammad Yunus, you're probably familiar with his work with the Grameen Bank, microcredit. Greg Mortensen, of course, his better known and first book is 3 Cups of Tea, working to build a school for girls in Pakistan and raising money for that when he was homeless. Actually, at one stage, he was living in his car, raising money to build a school for girls in Pakistan. So 3 other books. Mary Wynn Ashford on the left, 101 Solutions to Violence, Terror and War. Mary Wynn Ashford lives in this area. She's actually one of the founding board of director members of the Calgary Center that I'll describe shortly. A marvelous book. The next is a collection, an edited collection of essays posing in its title an obvious question. Do you want war or do you want health? It's like a well-known comedian, contemporary comedian, is talking about the Anglican Church. Would you like cake or death? You know, so a very useful title to keep in mind. And then a wonderful physician born in a refugee camp in Gaza, Dr. Abalesh, whose 2 of his daughters and a niece, I believe, were killed during the Israeli invasion of Gaza. But his absolutely firm response, I shall not hate, and just an amazing book, an amazing story that emerges from that. So the point is that the standard doctrine or dogma of the consumer culture, you can't change the world, it's hopeless, there's nothing to be done, that's flatly in contradiction to the evidence. There's abundant evidence that things. So what we wanted to do, civil society is doing magnificent work worldwide, and we wanted, in a sense, it's become the healthcare system for the world, the global community, but it doesn't have anything like a medical center. Everybody here knows what a medical center is, right? Yes? So So civil society doesn't have a place where the various organizations and individuals can come together, increase the frequency and the quality of their interactions, find resources, connections with the public, and so on. So we set out to do that. So this will be a Canadian, it's, as you'll see, I'll give you a progress report on where we are. The architectural design for the CCGC won an International Award for Progressive Architecture, was featured in Architect magazine. Civil society, as I mentioned, has become the Option A leader in the global community. The Calgary Center is designed to extend the scope, the reach, the impact of the work of civil society. It would accelerate the rate of change now being led by civil society. This book by Paul Hawken, Blessed Unrest, How the Largest Movement in the World Came into Being and Why No One Saw It Coming. So he counts literally, I think he comes to several million organizations worldwide in civil society. So just as, for example, in Calgary alone, there are probably over 100 organizations that work with issues related to homelessness in one form or another. A women's shelter in India that one of the Irma Parhad summer students worked with. All kinds of things going on all over the world. Just an incredible growth of the work of civil society. So the Calgary Center for Global Community, that architectural design, it's going to take us years to raise the capital to build that building. Phase 1 has already started. So phase 1, 3 to 5 years we estimate, started this year. Calgary Center Without Walls. Programs and exhibits have been launched. Financial and social capital base is expanding. Phase 2, 3 to 5 years. The Calgary Center will be in temporary downtown space with a restaurant, exhibition hall, cinema, bookstore, meeting rooms, main auditorium. In phase 3, if we're successful to that point, we'll build the building. A small organization doing brilliant work with a tiny budget, we will look for resources to create an exhibit so that public awareness of that organization and its work goes up in Calgary and elsewhere. Progress report. Working group was established in 2006. Architectural design won an international award. It was registered as a nonprofit society with the board of directors. It became a registered charity in Canada in November 2009. Startup funding was donated to establish the first staff positions in December of this past year. Bank account opened. We have executive directors. Recently, 4 new members have joined the board of directors, and we have others who are just about to join. All of this grew out of the Irma Parhad programs at the University of Calgary. Irma was my wife until she died of cancer in 1994. This is Irma as a child in Iraq, long before her career in neurology. She was a professor of clinical neurosciences when she died of cancer in 1994. Her father, Dr. Malcolm Parhad, was a neurosurgeon, as far as we know, the only neurosurgeon practicing in Iraq in the 1950s. Obviously, this pathology that we inflict on each other has destroyed a large part of the Iraqi healthcare system since then. This is from Norman Cousins. Optimism supplies the basic energy of civilization. Optimism doesn't wait on facts. It deals with prospects. Pessimism is a waste of time. So, with that, this is time for questions, exploration, and discovery. So I want to learn from you. Thank you.